I'm joined by Barak Sina, who's a research fellow at the Royal United Services Institute. You've just seen the list.
Yeah.
What's most likely in your view?
What's most likely is that the United States will lead the efforts for no-fly zone. Currently, they are ambiguously positioning themselves to saying that they're simply there in order to place pressure on Gaddafi and to strip away his supporters, his inner crowd of supporters, as well as offer humanitarian and relief support. However, currently being discussed are the options for a no-fly zone.
What is a no-fly zone?
We saw for example, after the Gulf War, we saw a no-fly zone enforced in Iraq. A no-fly zone can gain its legitimacy by UN Articles 39 to 41 from the UN Charter that is simply criticising repression of a people. And
OK, so you go to the UN agree a no-fly zone. If the UN agrees in no-fly zone, what does that mean in the air? How far does it extend?
The UN doesn't have to explicitly agree to a UN fly zone, but legitimacy can be found, just like President Bush Sr. found legitimacy in Articles 39 to 41 of the UN Charter. However, if there was to be an explicit agreement by the UN, what you would have to do is you'd have to have 10 votes in the Security Council for a no-fly zone, and no one of the 5 permanent members would be casting an anti-vote. That would be sufficient.
And that's unlikely, in the view of China?
In the view of China, that would be unlikely, so therefore recourse would be made by mentioning how the UN Security Council has A, offered sanctions against Libya, and B, referring Libya to the EU International Criminal Court. If
the UN doesn't back a no-fly zone, doesn't vote for a no-fly zone, does that make a no-fly zone illegal?
It doesn't make it illegal, but it makes it still possible, but without explicit authorization. It still makes it possible.
And what is a no-fly zone?
No-fly zone is just not allowing aircraft to come in that area of jurisdiction. So, for example, Gaddafi would not be able to have he would not be able to fly in his militias from African states. He wouldn't be able to be bombing his people. He wouldn't be able to be shelling the protesters. That would be a no-fly zone, not necessarily a UN no-fly zone, but a no-fly zone.
And what about protesters who might have access to Libyan jets in the east of the country?
That's a huge problem. For example, in Benghazi, where they've taken over an airfield, the problems with a no-fly zone is that it's very easy to down a rebel force. So there are many, many flaws in having a no-fly zone, and that's just one of a number of many. For example, it's possible for example, most of the atrocities that are being taken place on the ground, not by the air. Another problem is it can spiral into being a no-sail zone or a no-drive zone. It can suck international forces into Libya in an open-ended manner. So if there is a no-fly zone, what needs to happen is a UN resolution of some sort that demands that it is not open-ended and it's subject to review at certain intervals.
All right. Well, Barak, you've been very clear. Thank you very much.
Thank you.